Quick Goal, the official goal of soccer, presents Quick Chat, a quick-hitting interview series with some of the top people from around the soccer world. We discover how coaches got to their position and advice they give to a younger self. Welcome to Quick Chat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today we have on Coach John Harkes. How are we doing, John?
Doing well, my friend. Great to be on with you today in Zoom meeting. We don't get to see each other a lot, so I appreciate your time. Thanks for spending the time with me, Eric. I appreciate it.
Hey, listen, only with the champions. Only with the champions. How's it feel?
Feels good. It was, as you and I have had, many discussions throughout the year and a lot of challenges, for sure, that a lot of managers and clubs were facing this year. So many different, obstacles, different adversity that you go through. And in a difficult year, it makes it even more rewarding when you guys are, the guys are disciplined, they're competing, they're fighting, they understand what's at stake, and getting to a final again and winning the final this year was great. We got to a final last year against North Texas. We did extremely well in that game. We didn't execute in the final third. But, this year was not a normal year, as you know. We didn't even get to play in the final game. So, it's being number one all year took a lot of sacrifice. And, in a normal league around the world, in some circumstances that you're number one all year, then you're granted the champion. So we feel good about it. And it was in a difficult year. It was still very rewarding.
What was obviously followed it all throughout the year. What was the biggest difference between this year and last?
Quite a bit, actually. I think, if I self-reflect and look at myself, I was, a better coach. I think that you're always looking for room to improve if you're not self-reflecting and understanding how, how you can get the best, not just out of your players, but out of your staff, out of your club, and how you can be better yourself. And I think that's the number one way to improve and evolve, even as a coach and as a person. So from a professional growth, I definitely grew this year, and a personal growth, I grew as well. I think it was a lot different in terms of our approach, Eric. To be fair, we were more detail oriented in terms of exactly what we wanted, out of our players. And those type of training sessions and detail oriented, and the communication levels increased dramatically, so that everybody was checking for understanding and we knew what we wanted. It showed in our performance. So from that perspective, it changed. Dealing with anxiety, mental health, that was huge. I mean, it wasn't just a coach this year. You became like a friend, a kind of father figure, a psychologist, a listener, a better listener, and just spending time with players when you got anxiety and you're traveling on a plane and you got to wear a mask and gloves and isolate, and no one's in the hotel but us. It's it was different. It was a lot different. So
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
John, real quick before we dive into it, kind of talk about you've obviously had an unbelievable run as a player and your experiences there. Now that you're on the other side of the line, what are the biggest differences? What are the biggest what similarities do you draw from when you were a player now that you're on the other side? And talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's a good question, actually. I think there's, sometimes there's not a lot of clear answers there in terms of some players transitioning into being a coach. I think, when you really put the ego aside and you find your truer self, you start to discover what your purpose is. And if your purpose is to be a coach, then you better work hard every single day at your, skill sets. And, from my perspective there, it's like when you transition, you're not playing for yourself anymore. You're coaching, you're seeing the big picture, and the overarching principles are more about what's best for the club, what's best for our staff, what's best for our team. And, you still bring that competitive edge for sure. I love to win when I was a player, and I love to win as a coach. And you try to make it you're really, I'm there for them, for the players. And if I can get the best out of the players, then that's my job. I'm teaching and I'm inspiring, and I'm creating a safe environment for them to give me what they can, and to be vulnerable. And I think from a player standpoint, yeah, the passion's there. You compete, you fight, you dig in every single day. Sometimes the thought process is going to be a little bit more selfish, certainly, than when you transition to being a coach. But again, like I said, remove the ego, understand your purpose as a coach, work hard at your trade as best as you can every single day, be transparent and honest, because when you do that, then everybody knows where they stand. And we set the expectations this year in our culture. Everybody knew what it was. And when you start to see, Eric, the autonomy take place from the player standpoint, that they take over, they're an extension of what you're doing and what you want, then that's even better, because now it's natural instinct for them. And we saw that about halfway through the season. We had a couple losses on the road in New England. We had one in Richmond where you could see there was a lot of issues off the field that were draining our players, a lot of social injustice issues. And I didn't think that we were really kind of, I guess, focused is the word at that point. And but still, you got to find a way to still reach out to them and connect with them and tell them that you understand that and that you can't put them down. It's more about coaching through encouragement as best as you can. So the difference from being a player, sure, you're still a team player, when you're competing and playing, but you grow up and you mature and you evolve and you look at things from a bigger picture view as much as you can.
Talk about how you got to where you are today. That's, I think, really interesting. I mean, obviously, most people know your playing career and the stops you made along the way, but that transition from when you hung up the boots to the TV part of it to being on the sidelines now.
Yeah, I think it's a journey for sure. For me, it's been a long one, and just it's a guided discovery because you want to stay involved in the game, and ideally, God, I love the game. It's my life. Mm-hmm. Everything. It's in my blood. It's in my veins. My wife's the same. She's a competitive former player, and she's a coach as well and a teacher. My kids all play. It's just in our family. It's what we know. And so you're trying to figure out like what's the best pathway for you to stay involved in the game and compete and do things. And TV was offered to me straight away. Working with Fox, and when I retired from Columbus Crew in 2003, I was hosting. I found myself hosting with Sean Wheelock of MLS Rap, the first real MLS, Major League Soccer show to actually cover the game on the weekend. And it was crazy. I was flying out to LA. I was doing all day watching games, analyzing, then writing the script for the show and the timing of commercials and all this stuff. And man, you get thrown into the deep end. And I think I love doing that stuff, and as you transition through into the media, you start to fine tune your job and, how you become better at that. And it's the same in everyday life. Are you evolving as a person? Are you helping those around you, get better? And the number one thing, Eric, for me is I'm always want to take on the accountability of growing the game in our country. I feel very passionate about growing the game in this country. And I think that there's been so many great people before us and generations before us, not just players, but builders in the game. People have taken on, the unsung heroes of the game that just sit in the corner and do all the work. And I'm okay to do that, roll up my sleeves and do that. I grew up in a tough town in Kearny, New Jersey, where everybody fights for that. And I love growing the game. So coaching all the time, even when I was doing media, I was coaching youth groups, whether it be, my kids' teams or coaching a U18 the game or getting experience coaching under Ziggy Schmidt at the U20s in 2005 Youth World Cup in Holland. And that is like a continuous like stepping stone of progress of like, how are you developing who you are as a coach? And yeah, it's great to work with other coaches. I worked with Bruce Arena at New York Red Bull as an assistant, with Richie Williams and, a lot of great coaches there. working, under Bob Bradley, under Dave Sarachan, like learning and taking from these guys. All my coaches in Europe, playing in the Premier League and in the English leagues, back in the day, and even Bob Gansler. You take guys from Bob Gansler and all your World Cup coaches. So what you do is you take those ideas and you make them your own. You figure out what you are about, and it takes a while to get there. And through that process of doing the media and doing the coaching, it finally taught me that, like, wow, I'm so passionate about the coaching aspect of it, the teaching aspect of the game, and that's kind of how I navigated through those lines to get there.
Sure.
It takes a lot of work. And when I took on FC Cincinnati, it was my first head coaching gig, and we did great. In terms of record, out of 30 games, we lost 6, got to the playoffs, created a great rapport with the fan base in Cincinnati. But sometimes it doesn't always work out in terms of, what the vision of the club is, personalities per se. But at the end of the day, you learn from it, and then you move on and you say, okay, what's my next gig? Where's my next opportunity that I'm going to learn? And Greenville was fantastic. Open arms with the ownership group, Joe Irwin, the chairman, and his family, Chris Lewis, the president, just wanted me. And, we shared the same core values of being a club for the community and growing the game the right way. And that takes time, and it takes discipline, and it takes structure. And we were all on the same page with that. So it's been great. It's been a fun journey, and still have a lot of work to do, and getting to 2 finals is great, but it only gets harder every single year as a coach. We got a lot ahead of us for sure going into a.
Well, you've lit Greenville up for sure. I mean, it's you've done great there so far, so I'm sure that will continue. Tell me about or tell us about your best experience on the sidelines as a coach. Your best coaching experience.
It's funny because there's not one that stands out. Like, even winning is great, but you self-reflect on what you did well and what you can do better for the next game. It's like winning doesn't cure all. You win things and you're like, okay, I'm excited for a time period. And you're like, okay, what are we doing next? So people talk about, wow, winning must be so much fun. And I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's good. But there's bigger things there. And the work that you do, it's like, again, it's just that self-reflection, like, how much can I be better? Like, you look at training sessions, you're like, God, I should have been better at communicating today. Or this session could be tweaked a little bit, like 5 more yards here or reduce the numbers here. So it's just work in progress every single day. But the best moments, I think, are those when you work with players individually about, improving their game, and you see it happen instinctually on the field. Those are the best moments.
Yeah.
You go, there he is. There he is. There he is. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the best. That's the best feeling as a coach.
Yeah. Flip side, the worst. Is there one? Is there one that really sticks out as, that was not a good moment?
Yeah, I think, not having a second year at FC Cincinnati was a tough one for me. That was a big speed bump in the road, challenging me about, do I still want this? Am I passionate enough to go and fight for being a head coach? Because not always, there's external situations that sometimes go against you. And, that was that was a tough situation for me and my family, because we built something, we were excited about our work and we're ready to go for the second year, and it gets cut. So those are always going to be tough times, for sure. But, you learn from it, you grow it, and you become stronger. It's the way that you perceive those things. And, you use it to make you better. You make you smarter. And so, we got a long way to go still, a long way to go. There's so many coaches that I've learned from, Bruce Arena being one of them, the best. And, I watch his work now and what he's doing with New England Revolution and how good it is, and just the way he manages. And Bruce, you've worked with Bruce, and you just know who he is, and he's a character, but his work is so good, man. It really is. And it's like when you parent, the more you parent, the more you respect your own parents and the work they did. The more you coach, the more you respect the coaches that coached you. And you're like, how did you put up with me? That's what I'm saying to these guys. So it's a work in progress all the time.
Yeah. I was just watching an interview with him after the Montreal game.
Yeah.
And, I think tomorrow night is Philly, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So best of luck to him.
Yeah, but did you like what he said in the interview? How he was like, we don't need to do the scouting reports, so we played him like 6 or 8 times. He still had that's the sense of humor, though. That's the best thing about a coach, though, is that you can push players on to work hard every single day. But I like to coach in terms of balance, understanding that you can have fun, you can enjoy yourself, and have the banter, and that's part of it. That grows that culture every single day. And we've gotten it from a lot of good coaches.
Yeah, for sure. Along the way, best player. Is there one that stands out? One guy that's just kind of
wow. Best player that has coached or played?
Yeah. Well, we could answer both if you want, but coached is where I was going.
I would say, man. Corbin Bone at FC Cincinnati was a hell of a player. Just his everyday mentality, the way he attacks the game, and fantastic box-to-box midfielder, creative. Saw him play at Wake Forest before my son went there, and always knew I wanted to work with a guy like that. And being a midfielder myself, you kind of have those appreciations for the work rate that he puts in. Coaching a guy as an assistant, I mean, I don't know if Richie Williams would tell you the same, but a guy like Juan Pablo Angel at New York Red Bulls was pretty amazing. To see his level of concentration and focus and attitude and approach every single day to being the top pro was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And here's a guy that's, played all over the world and played in England and everything else. Fantastic player. So I would think those guys stand out. Playing with on the national team, probably guys like Tab Ramos that I grew up with. Seeing hometown guys like Tony excel and do well as a goalkeeper and get to high levels. Guys overseas playing against a guy like Ryan Giggs, absolutely incredible. And very difficult. And playing with guys like Chris Waddle, who was a legend at Tottenham and then went to Marseille, came back to Sheffield Wednesday, was an English international. Competing with and against guys like that, it teaches you a lot. When you're with the international team, you're playing against Romario. I mean, you're playing against Dunga, guys in Brazil. You're playing against, everybody in the Italian national team when we played them in the second World Cup. High-level guys, Donadoni, Scalaccio, Toto. These players are world-class players. And, that, you get to a level where you can compete against them and you go, I'm not too far off, but at least there's hope. We can get there. We can compete against them. So, a lot of great players, a lot of good players that I've coached and great players now, even in Greenville, quality team, quality players that I've got here and guys that stood out. Dallas J, back-to-back goalkeeper of the year. In USL League One, he's done very well. Guys like Brandon Fricky, who's come to the club this year, defender of the year, great player. Evan Lee's a great defender, growing in every single day. Alex Morel, Jay Keegan, these players, Aaron Walker, these guys like that, they're the soul of the team and they want to compete and fight and win and every single day. They're great leaders. And, Aaron Walker and Tyler Pollock to me still is like one of the best players that I've ever coached. I coached him at Cincy. I'm coaching him as a left back at Greenville Triumph. Tyler's just exceptional. You look at his instat numbers and he's leading 3 out of 4 categories: interceptions, reading the game, completed passes out of the back under pressure, everything. Just a quality guy on and off the field. So a lot of good guys, and it makes you better as a coach. It really does.
As a player, as a coach, training sessions, equipment on the field, is there a go-to? Is there, hey, this is my signature training game that I love? What equipment is used in those training games? Is it small goals? Is it cones? What is it?
I love the quick goals, small goals. I love the big goal, small goal game that I took from Ziggy Schmidt many years ago, where you've got the width of the pitch, 18 to midfield. You've got one big goal. Of course, it's quick goal on one side. You got the small quick goal on the other side, and then the opposite there. And what we're trying to do is, you do numbers where it makes sense, from an 8v8 or 9v9, and you're talking about, switching the point of attack, but you're also talking about where you're holding that line and how you're actually getting to goal a little bit quicker, vertical passes, the movement that comes out of the midfield, the way that you can kind of hold that line, even though we may change the game, Eric, and say, today there's no offsides in that game. So now it's more about the physical component. I'm saying guys got to go man to man, not like a San Jose Earthquakes man to man per se, but a kind of a different philosophy in the game where there's going to be 10, 15 minutes of a match. You may need to mark up in the back that maybe the opposition is playing a 3-4-3 or a 3-3-4, and it's pushed onto our backs. And I'm okay with that. And the players look, hey, are we changing the shape? No, it's just a moment where you're going to work on this specifically so that we can get that covered in the game, that if we have to do it on Saturday and we implement that on that Monday, we do it in the Monday and Tuesday early. So we see how it works and what needs to be kind of, I guess, fine-tuned a little bit more, and then go back to who we are again and say, okay, now let's get back to who we are and how do we play in the game? How do we possess the ball and build through the lines? And so there's a lot of games like that where we do it. Numbers up games, 6 versus 5, transition. I love the transition games where, it's, 2v2, 3v2, 4v3s, players like circulating off the ball. Once you get a strike on goal, he's got to run around you guys gave us those poles, the quick goal poles, which are fantastic. They've got to get around that. And now it's a 3v2 going to goal, and he's got to recover, like a recovery, emergency defending. And so a lot of different games like that. Transitional games are very important because, as we see now, even in football, how many teams struggle on transition, defensive transition? How many teams? You look at Liverpool play against Leicester. Liverpool are missing probably close to 9 starters right now, maybe 10. And they're still transitional defending extremely well. A guy like James Milner comes in there and can play any position at the age of 34. Yeah. Klopp can just be like, that's my guy. You understand the shape of our team, and you adapt. If I had to pick one thing about some of the training sessions we did this year, small-sided games we love, adaptability in the game was the number one word all year long. Adaptability. Because we're adapted through COVID. We're adapting through everything. This team's playing us. We've got 4 false positives, but it doesn't matter. We still have to quarantine. So they're out of the game. I'm playing without 2 center backs. Yeah. Shift, change the way you play. It's adaptability the whole year.
So on that, the opponents around the league, are they giving you a ton of different looks? Is everybody kind of playing the same way? What does it look like?
Yeah, I think it's different looks, Eric. To be honest, I think there's times where, you compete against a Chattanooga, and they're going to come in high presses a little bit and squeeze the game. They like to take more of a gamble in that final third, take more of a risk going forward. Whereas you play them, and then maybe you play against Orlando City, and they're a drop-off team to the midfield line, and they like to absorb pressure and counter into spaces. Madison's a team that we battle with every single year. It'll be interesting to see how they are, moving forward into 2021 as they look for a new coach there as well. And so there's teams that sometimes match up with us really well and they want to compete. But the one thing that we like to do is stay very organized with and without the ball. We're a team that plays as a team. There's not like 2-3 players that can take off plays with my team. And if I can stay organized and, defend the goal and get more shutouts like we do, each and every year, that gives us a chance to win games.
Awesome. This is a good one here. Yeah. What advice would you give the younger John Harkes?
Slow down. Slow down.
Which part, the playing career or the coaching career?
just everything in life. Slow down. Like, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't stay in the moment. Make it primary. The more that you can stay in the moment and make it primary, like that's your focus. Then you bring your energies more to that instead of, it's easy. We all have some form of ADD, in life. There's so many things going on. When you stay focused in the present moment and slow down, then you become a better version of yourself. And I would like to get a hold of myself at the age of 12, 13, 14 and say, just slow down. Like some of my dad told me that. Manny Shellshite told me that as a young player. Some of the great coaches that I've had and influenced me. And I think it still sits with me today, you know, and I kind of coach with players like that. I tell them, they're like, you know, Gaffer, we got to do this. And they're saying 17 things at halftime. I'm just slow down, boys. Slow down. We're okay. And then let's just define what we're looking to improve for the second half, and how do we exploit the offense, the opposition, but then how do we tighten up a little bit better on our end? Just keep it simple. And that slowing down part is really important.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. This was great. Thank you so much. All the best in the off season.
Thank you. My pleasure. Great to be on with you again. And thank you for everything you do for the game and supporting our club. You know, and Kwik, you guys have been fantastic with us, you know, both on and off the field. And, you know, we appreciate you guys a great deal. So thank you so much.
Well, if you'll have me back down, I will be back down. Appreciate it.